Hello, mate. How you going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I can't quite decide. I'm not sure if I feel positive or negative about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. So, can you help me with that?
Yeah, that was a boring race. That was I haven't said that all year, but that was just such a boring race for me personally. I'm sure others enjoyed it. If you're a Max Verstappen fan, you would have loved it. He showed incredible dominance. I think the Joker in the pack is quickly becoming a contender, actually. Maybe not for the world title, but I don't know. It feels like something's changed since Italy, since that upgrade on the Red Bull car, and I'm here for it. I think I don't know. I think it's more interesting with Max getting in the way of Piastri and Lando and stopping the McLaren dominance. We had enough of that with 7 years of Mercedes, and we probably had enough of it with Red Bull. So I think it's good to see Max charging through and making a very clear case for the fact he is not out of this race. But in answer to your question, boring race. Overtaking just felt just so hard. I don't know if it's historically been this hard. You might be able to help me out with that. But for a street circuit, I love street circuits. I know you have mixed feelings about them, but I love them. I love the feeling of watching it on TV, the feeling of speed. I mean, we're talking about a track that has the narrowest section in the whole F1 calendar, up by the castle, watching the cars thread the needle through, what is it, like 7 meters wide? It was just such a boring race. Qualifying, on the other hand, was really good. I thought qualifying was really exciting. What did you make of qualifying?
Well, it's good that you feel that way because it was the longest qualifying session known to man. It had a record number of red flags that slowed us down, and I think it went longer than the last race. So the last race, how about this? The Monza Italian Grand Prix was the shortest F1 race in history, and the Azerbaijan qualifying was longer than that. So I think that says a lot. I think it's one of those cases where you've got the classic risk-reward dynamic. You know, it's like what you have at Monaco, like what we will have next time round in Singapore, where the walls are close, the margins are fine, small errors can end up costing you big time. And yeah, I think we saw plenty of that throughout the weekend, throughout the build-up, throughout qualifying, and then in the race. And then also, the thing that I think caught the teams out more so than last time round was just how gusty the wind was. And you sometimes get a sense of that, but when you sort of hear the drivers talk about how they can be going around a corner that they've gone around 10 times before, and all of a sudden the back end just steps out because a gust of wind has come along and caught the sail and turned them around, and the drivers were super frustrated. They were thinking, okay, here I'm on my lap, I'm going to get the result I need, and whoops, red flag. Or I'm going along and whoops, there's a gust of wind that's pushed me off many times. So I think the driving challenge that Baku presents and the environmental conditions made it entertaining throughout the weekend, but during the race, not so much. It was pretty much a procession. Quite a handful of drivers finished in the positions where they started, despite some strategy gambles and despite some shenanigans happening throughout the race. But yeah, at about the halfway lap, I was thinking, gosh, this is a bit dull. I wonder if things are going to spice it up towards the end. And I think there was a little bit of drama towards the end, would you say, with the Norris trying to claw back those extra points and try and close the gap to Piastri. What did you make of the end of the race?
Oh, man. Norris. What a weekend. I mean, before I answer that, just jumping back to quali, where they, if you were watching quali, obviously we had Piastri in the wall, and so he wasn't able to compete. This was Norris's chance to get a P1, a P2, a P3. Any of those would have been great. But they sent him out first. And it was just, I was just watching the TV as he went out first. I'm like, guys, don't do this. I know why they did it. I get, this is like the classic thing, right? And I think Lando spoke to this after quali. it's like we went out first because there'd been 6 red flags in quali, like you said before, Jason. Like, this was the most red flags in quali maybe ever. So they're like, just get a flipping lap in, Lando. And of course, this track just rubbers up so well. It really benefits. Being behind someone on the long straight to get a slipstream, and of course, the gamble went the wrong way. No one crashed out at that point. It was just, yeah. And there was a bit of rain on the track as well, and they were talking about the white lines being quite slippery. So, like, I don't think Norris did anything wrong in his. I don't think, we've talked about Norris maybe being someone who crumbles under pressure. I think he put in a reasonable lap, but he just didn't have a slipstream. The track just keeps rubbering up, and of course he ends up in P7, and Piastri's only in P9, so he only made up 2 places when he had this was the moment for Lando to claw back serious points. So his luck didn't go great in quali, and then of course he got stuffed again by a terrible pit stop. He was gonna come out ahead of was it Tsunoda and Lawson, or was it Tsunoda and Leclerc?
I think it was Lawson.
It was Lawson. He was going to scoop some more points, and they fumbled his pit stop. The poor guy can't catch a break. Now look, it's only 26 points. He's brought it from, 34 to 26. It's not a bad haul, but it could have been a monumental haul. It could have been bringing it down to like 15 points, 14. Like, it could have been in that region, which would have been game on. I still think it's game on for Lando. It was encouraging to see the robot Piastri, make quite a few errors. Like, he doesn't really do this. He only did this in Melbourne on the very first race of the season, putting it in the grass. Since then, he has been Mr. Consistent. He has been laser focused. He's not dropped the ball. What do you think? Was that just bad luck for Piastri, or is he really feeling pressure? I mean, should he be feeling pressure?
No, he's a robot. He doesn't feel pressure. So you can't...
Are you sure?
Are
you sure?
Yeah, you can't think of it that way. I think I saw a comment online saying that he'd saved up all his errors for one round. He had all of them in the one round, and
that's the last we'll see.
Yeah, he's done and dusted. So I am quite sad about this outcome because, as I think Gav, I'm a bit of a stats fan, and when it comes to Piastri, there are a few, including he now has the 3rd longest consecutive point scoring streak in F1 history at 34. That's gone. It'll take a while before he gets that back again. And then he also had a 44 race finishing streak as well, which was the 2nd longest in F1 history. So this guy generally doesn't put a foot wrong. Even in Melbourne, when we were there, he went off track. He still managed to finish P9. So there's a sort of incredible robotic consistency about this, metronomic you could even say. And to see him just fluff his lines so poorly, it was really remarkable, uncharacteristic of him. He had some engine or some car problems in FP1 that he put it in the wall in quali, and then he jumped the start at the start of the race, and then he put it in the wall in turn 5. It was like, okay, this guy's just had all of his bad luck, all of his bad decisions come at once. The rest is clear and clean sailing from here. Let's see. But I thought it was a nice moment watching him watch the race on a phone as he was sitting with his legs up on the wall, and I thought, yeah, that's a little bit like what it was like for us to be trackside, all those months ago back in Melbourne. So he got a little bit of a taste of the fan experience, being, just watching the drivers go by on track. I thought it was amazing.
I'm sure he loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this look, but
it's not just Lando missing his opportunity and Piastri making uncharacteristic errors. It was also McLaren as a team. There's this thing about Baku where last year when they raced there, it was Norris qualified poorly. He qualified 14 or 15 but finished 4th. So when you think about overtaking on track last year, seemed okay. He went all the way up those many places. And Oscar Piastri qualified second, but did an amazing lunge overtake into turn 1 on Charles Leclerc and won the race. And when that happened, for McLaren, it was a big deal because that was the race where they became P1 in the Constructors' Championship last year, and they retained that right through to the end. And they actually haven't been overtaken in the Constructors' Championship since then. And they could have won the championship this year, the Constructors' Championship this year, which would have marked like a really nice bookend of Baku to Baku, you know, from sort of that fairy tale conclusion to the story. And it quickly turned into a nightmare for them. So I thought that was sort of poetic. And also, when you look back at the history of McLaren, I looked back at this. The last time that they were P1 in the Constructors' Championship was in 2012. So in 2024, when they claimed P1, and that's the position they've held ever since, it was a really big deal. And the contrast between 2024 Azerbaijan and 2025 for that team is just so stark. It's literally from fairy tale to nightmare with a castle to boot. Just amazing.
Is it a real castle? I got every time I look at Azerbaijan, like I'm just like, this place feels so fake to me. Like, I'm really, really sorry if you're from there and you're listening to this. I don't know if our podcast reach makes it out that far.
Not anymore. Thanks, Gav.
No, yeah, sorry guys. But I'm just like, all the old buildings look really, really new. It's almost like, I don't know, like Trump's, you know, kind of Oval Office where he's kind of done all the kind of the gold leaf and stuff. It just feels, it doesn't feel right. And I kind of started doing a bit of a dig around online, and it turns out that some of it is like 12th century. Like that castle is, there's a lot of debate around that castle bit, and there's bits of walls. But some of those like kind of Greco-Roman columns and like facades, that's with retail shops underneath, that's all like really new. So it's like, it's a bit of a Disneyland of a place. Like, I don't actually know how that country generates money, whether it's oil or you know, minerals or whatever. But obviously you kind of get the bird's eye view, and you're like, oh, what is this country on the Caspian Sea that's kind of got like Russia to the north? Is it like Georgia? It's kind of bordering on the end of Europe, and it's like kind of got Iraq and like Iran below it. It's such a weird flipping place. I wonder if they're just like watching the whole world at war around them over the last kind of 20, 30 years, just being like, we're just going to like put up some like fake buildings and like keep everything chill here. But I don't know. It's just a weird. See if anyone notices. Place. It's a weird place. Yeah, it's a weird place. I kind of want to go there now. I do quite want to go.
Whenever they went through that narrow section and they come out with that weird little right-hand kink, anytime looking back at the cars, the castle wall is unprotected. Where, you know, the bit where they go through that really narrow section, that wall to the left has no Tech Pro, has no barrier. So if they ever do have a crash there with something going left, which seems unlikely, but it could happen, that's like, you know, possibly, you know, some real big damage to a
that's what we call that crunch time.
Crunch time. Yeah. So, and when it was when I was looking at the points for the Constructors' Championship, which maybe no one cares about, but the McLaren only needed to outscore Ferrari by 9 points.
9 points.
But as the weekend was going on, I was thinking, McLaren's going to struggle to even score 9 points, let alone 9 points more than Ferrari. So I'm not so sure that this is going to end up going that way. But in the end, even Ferrari, you know, couldn't really put a solid weekend together, despite finishing P1 and P2 in FP2.
How strong did Lewis look? Oh, it was like, yeah, really, really, really gutted for him. Yeah, it was. Your man Kimi did all right.
Yes.
Started in fifth, finished in fourth.
Started in fourth.
Started in fourth, finished in fourth.
Yeah, so he's one of the processional drivers. And that was really great. And good little lunge that he had on George Russell up into turn 1 that nearly put his teammate into the barrier. But that was great. And he almost got onto the back of Sainz towards the end of the race, but it just wasn't to be. But I think from his perspective, just a solid weekend. You know, no additional penalty points on his license.
No rookie errors.
No rookie
Let's
errors.
call it that.
And considering the risk-reward nature of the Baku street circuit, that's no mean feat. Many drivers were putting a foot wrong going into the barriers or spinning out in sympathy, as did Colapinto. And so, I was very, very pleased to see Antonelli doing so well. I think the thing I'd take away from this race as a whole, not just the difficulty in overtaking, but just how closely matched the cars seem to be. When you get a jumbled up grid like we did with Sainz and Lawson qualifying so high, usually you would expect the top tier teams to just come steaming through. But not this time round. They were not able to generate, despite the slipstream and despite DRS, they just weren't able to generate enough of a VMAX, top speed, to be able to slingshot past on that main start-finish straight. And so, it was a pretty dull race. Only a handful of overtakes and some drama in the pits. So, quite a boring race. Despite that, from the front, clinical from Max Verstappen. That's another Grand Slam for him. Pole, fastest lap, led every race, won the race. Led every lap, won the race. I mean, that's his sixth in his career. It's nothing to be sneezed at in what is a difficult season for him. And it could even put him back into title contention. I'd love to do the maths at some point and work out what the probability is for Max to actually come through and take the candy from the McLaren babies that we have in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to take some DNFs from the McLaren side, or it's going to take some failures of the machinery, or Piastri putting his pastry in the cabinet again, so to speak. But do you know what I thought was really interesting? Actually, not like normally. And there's a few reasons for this, but normally when you get a shock quali where you get Williams with Carlos Sainz in P2 in quali and Liam Lawson in Racing Bulls in P3, normally what happens, and you know this, is I think it's basically what you've said, is that, well done, you got lucky in quali, there was a lot of wind, the track got a bit wet and slippery, everyone went back out, and you were lucky to get that time in. We all know you were lucky to get that time in. Well done. Good luck in the race, though, because everyone's going to pass you.
And they hand the points out on Sunday. So well done for Saturday, but Sunday's what really matters.
It didn't happen. And, hats off to Carlos Sainz and hats off to Liam Lawson for coming in P3 and P5 respectively and running such tight, seamless races. Like, we can talk about Max, keeping it on the line, but he had fresh air, he was away, got a very quick car after that upgrade. But those guys, Racing Bulls and Williams, P3 and P5, unbelievable drives from them, didn't crack under the pressure. Sure, it was clearly hard to overtake. I don't know if I do know that you watch, because I know you watched the race, but watching Liam Lawson hold off Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc without DRS, with them behind him with DRS, was like, to me, Liam Lawson was the driver of the day. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, so he's not a kid, he's in his early 20s, but this guy is holding off these guys with no DRS. Now that says one of two things. He drove the race of his whole career, or the DRS wasn't that powerful, and it wasn't powerful enough. It's probably a mixture of both. I think we can probably agree it's probably a mixture of both. But what a great race. It's 2017 was the last time Williams had someone on the front row. I don't know where it was. I think it was it Monza 2017 was the last time Williams had someone on the front row. So huge day for Williams. Huge day for Liam Lawson, who obviously has been battling his demons since being given the flick from Red Bull back down to the sister team. Great day for them. Really impressed with their drive and for holding their nerve.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting race of clear winners and losers. And when we look at those examples that you pointed out there, I think that there's a few sort of moments there where you go, it's amazing that Williams is back on the podium again. after such a long time. This is a storied team. They're one of the last, proper independent teams still on the grid, and they finally managed to put the podium together, but it's not Albon. The guy who's been there building year after year after year. It's Sainz. And then you look at Tsunoda. Tsunoda had the closest race weekend that he's had to Max since the start of the season.
Yeah.
Every round up until now, he's been building, but still some way off. Whereas this time round, in one of the practice sessions, he finished ahead of Verstappen, and he nearly matched him for race pace, and yet he finishes behind Lawson. And so there's these sort of moments where you go, oh, okay, that's like good and bad at the same time. And depending on your stance, depending on your fan selection and your vibes, you might walk away from this feeling elated. If you're a Sainz fan, you go, the guy's been just, he deserves it. He's had such bad luck throughout the year. He's clearly a top tier guy. This is his moment, and vamos. And then if you're a Williams fan, you're thinking, bring it on. This is the resurgence that we've been waiting for. Come on, 2026, James Vowles for the win. But if you sit on the other side of the garage, maybe, or if you're a little bit disinclined to follow that line of thinking, you go, oh, okay, all right. The Williams is up there, but the wrong Williams.
The wrong Williams. Do you know what? Like, speaking to what you were saying, like Yuki beginning to kind of come into the zone. I think it's too early to say that Yuki's back, and we're going to see like these, we're going to see kind of P6s from him regularly. I think it's too early to say that. I think we need to see a few more races. But do you think this upgrade that they brought in Italy for Red Bull has maybe made the car a bit more normal, a little bit less? We've talked, for those who haven't listened to us much before, we've talked about the way that Red Bull have, over the years, have engineered the car closer and closer and closer and closer to Max's driving style, to the point that it's been described as when you use a computer and you put your finger on the trackpad, imagine the cursor at the highest sensitivity. One little flick and the car moves. Very front-endy. Takes a huge amount not to lose the back end on it. Which has made everyone who's come along to be over the years, whether it be Perez or Lawson or Yuki, made it almost unbearable for them to drive. Has this upgrade almost settled the car to a point that Yuki's like, okay, like I'm a P6 kind of driver. Sure, I'm not Max. I'm never going to be Max. I think we all know that. But like, I'm a P6 driver, and this car feels more comfortable, feels more steady, and maybe it's working better for Max as well. And all this after Horner leaves. That's what I keep thinking. It's just like, gosh, Red Bull's coming back alive after Horner leaves. Was there something prophetic about Horner going? Was there a toxicity in that team? Was there such a favoritism in the pushing of Max's car design? Have we got a team principal now who's come back and been like, listen, this car needs to be drivable for both drivers, and we can make it quick? Because if they've done that, that's flipping amazing.
Well, I think, I don't know, but I do enjoy listening to Laura Mecki.
None of us know.
Speak. I like the, if I recall back to the Horner days, you had this sort of, he just oozed arrogance, the way he presented himself on the media. And so I think Laura Mecki's, if that alone, he's a breath of fresh air when it comes to how he speaks in front of the media. But when you look at what they did at Racing Bulls, you can see that they're getting results. Fast car, drivable. Like, maybe that's a good formula that they could bring across to the sister team in Red Bull. Maybe, but I think I like your comment about not thinking that Yuki's back too soon, and also I'd say a P6 is not success when it comes to Red Bull. Perez was a P2 driver at times, and that's where they should be aspiring to be. If Max is winning, they really need to be mopping up those spare points, and P6 is nowhere near good enough. So good job, keep going, keep climbing. If this is the direction the season's going, that's cool. But you still got a fair way to go. Yuki Tsunoda's still 17 P16 in the driver's standing. So, let's keep going. More of these weekends, please. Also, it's weird having what's his name? The new Racing Bulls team principal.
Yeah.
I forget it. Alan Permain. It's weird having a new face on the grid, and it's taking a little bit of time to get used to. But I like the candor that these rookie-ish team principals bring to these conversations, and I think that's really cool. I like James.
Yeah, they haven't been fully media trained yet.
James is on the way. You can tell that he's being a lot less honest than he used to be, but he's still good. But Lawson, let's just pause on him. Lawson soaking up the pressure. Totally agree. Driver of the day. The amount of pressure, especially in those last 10 laps or so, when he had 2 or 3 and Hamilton was closing up behind, all these cars with an immense slipstream, and he's out the front punching a hole in the air with none of that benefit, and he still manages to hold it together lap after lap. That was fantastic and great for his confidence. I think Hadjar had glowing things to say about Lawson's race as well afterwards. So 2 thumbs up for them. Where to from here?
Okay, maybe the race was okay after. Do you know what? It's kind of like
storylines. It was storylines.
It's a race. You're right. It's a race of storylines. Some unexpected outcomes. We kind of needed that. I'm still desperate for there to be like another fumble or 2 from Piastri, so we can really have a head-to-head towards the end of the year between Lando and Piastri. It's going to be like the nerves, the stress these 2 drivers must be under, knowing they both have the machinery under them to win this championship. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting.
Or do they?
Mate,
yeah.
Don't even Max isn't winning this. Max isn't. They're not gonna DNF 4 times in a row to give him the win. Or are they?
Are they? Yeah, that's it.
A leak of oil here,
What are the probabilities of that? Oh man,
a gopher there, a Canadian gopher there.
69 points is not that many points. It could happen. There's 7 rounds to go, and don't forget we've got 3 sprint rounds still to come. So it's not just the regular Grand Prix stash of points. It's more. Oh, the stakes. See, I'm loving this sort of McLaren the equality that's coming about in the McLaren garage. If one of them is having a bad race, the other ones have got to make sure that they kind of even things out, because we don't want one of them, getting too far ahead of the other. So McLaren are really doing us a solid when it comes to keeping it all together. The pit stop, Piastri's out of the race. Norris, they got to even it up somehow.
Do you really think that's how they think?
No.
Good.
No, but I thought I like the universe is giving us this.
The amount of hate Lando got. I don't know if you talked about this in the podcast last week, but the amount of hate Lando got for basically saying, should we help Piastri out to cover off Leclerc? Please don't undercut me. If that, I'm happy for that to happen. The amount of hate, like all this stuff about, I don't know if you saw some of the memes, but like, Lando's girlfriend has broken up with him. Can we ask Piastri to break up with his girlfriend as well to make it fair? It's so much bullshit. Anyway,
love it.
Listen. Let's keep some powder dry for Singapore. Singapore, Ollie Behrman, right? That was his first run out.
Wasn't
it?
I remember. Saudi Arabia?
I thought it was at Saudi Arabia.
So in F2 last year, he qualified on pole for the F2 race, and then Sainz had an appendix issue, and so he subbed in for Sainz.
And he did really well, didn't he? Yeah. So nothing to do with
Singapore.
Yeah.
But Singapore, isn't that the place where they get Komodo dragons on the track?
I hope so. Singapore, I'll never forget. The thing about Singapore is it's where they lose the most bodily fluid from that humidity. I don't know if you've been to Singapore, but like you step out of the airport or out of the hotel or wherever you are, and it hits you like a brick wall. I cannot imagine. I remember Lewis talking about it as well, saying like, you don't understand like what this costs us as drivers. So this is the race of the year that they're probably kind of excited about because it's a pretty amazing track, a night race. but also like dreading because I think they lose something. I don't know. You can Google this, but I feel like it's something like 10 liters of a ridiculous amount of water. So it is the pressure cooker of the year. It's going to be a fun race. I know it's not your favorite circuit. I think visually it's very exciting. I hope it's a good race. And feelings about Singapore.
Well, you know how I feel about street circuits and temporary ones, but I do think this weekend in Azerbaijan has given me a little bit of a pep in my step when it comes to these temporary tracks because of the risk-reward factor. If I think back to last year, that was where Norris crashed out early in the race, and then Russell crashed right at the end of the race whilst chasing down Sainz and someone else, and that was also where Sainz was gifting someone DRS. It was the first time in a while that we saw that kind of give the driver behind DRS in order to protect from the driver behind them. And so I do think This is one of those tracks where you get the games. This is also the place where Crashgate happened all those many years ago. This is a track that delivers probably more storylines again than on-track action. But, you know, with the season that we're having and what's unfolding with our beloved Joker coming around and throwing a cat amongst the pigeons all the time, I'm down for it. I'm keen for this.
Yeah, I'm stoked for it.
Night track, it's great.
Night tracks. I mean, like, I don't want to sound like really annoying, but such a sexy night track to watch. Like, it's so kind of like Grand Theft Auto meets, kind of the Fast and the Furious. It feels like
good. That's a good comparison.
It feels like a scene out of the Fast and the Furious. Not that I watch that rubbish cinema, but look, I'm going to be sitting there with my ice pack around my neck, my water bottle with a straw. I'm going to turn up the heating in the flat as hot as it goes.
And then the AC. Turn up the heat and then the AC.
I want to feel it. I want to suffer with the drivers because I'm that kind of guy. But yeah, I'll see you on the other side, and can't wait to debrief that one with you.
Bring it on, mate.